Hey lads, welcome to the first video of this 4-part video course, and today I'm going to take you through the flexibility and mobility exercises to help alleviate some of the back pain you might be suffering with. Now, as I touched on the video yesterday, was some of the pelvic positions that can cause a lot of that back pain, whether it's compressing the spine through extension, whether it's the muscles getting shorter and tighter. And so I'm going to touch on those again today, but take it a step further and get into some of the stretches so you'll understand why we're stretching certain muscles, why some of them are really relevant to you and maybe some of them not so much. So have a play around with these and really touch on the ones that you feel are best or give you the most relief when you're doing this. So like I said yesterday, most back pain is occurred by this hyperextended arched super arched back posture. It's also called lordosis, and there's a couple of things that we can do to help alleviate that straight away. Now, logic would dictate that the best one is to bend over and flex the spine. However, that isn't actually going to fix anything. It'll give you short-term relief, and when you're stretching really tight muscles, and especially if you're stretching them aggressively, they're going to have the opposite effect. They're going to fight back and shorten up. So you actually end up being kind of counterintuitive with it or counterproductive with it. So what we're going to do today is that we're going to take the spine and the pelvis through some different ranges of movements that will, again, create a lot less tension, a lot more relief, and ultimately a whole lot less pain. And these are things that you can do a couple of times a day. They're really simple but really effective. So the first one we're going to do, so like I said, the most common one is this arched back type posture. Okay, so what we want to do is this is designed to really stretch out the lower back muscles, but not by flexing, but we're going to side flex. All right, we're going to do one and then the other. So best thing you can do is stand up against the wall. Now, you probably can't see from the camera here, but I have my feet out from the wall, so I want my whole entire back up against the wall. Now, bring your two hands up above your head. Now, if you're tight to the shoulders, you won't be able to touch the wall, but really try and push back and reach up as high as you can. Now from here, keep your whole entire back against the wall and side flex. And up. Big deep breath in again. And side flex the other way. This is a really, really, really lovely stretch, and it's a really deep stretch as well. So although it is stretching the erectors, what it's also doing, and especially because of the hand position, it's going to stretch out your lats. Now, your lats are big, thick muscles, but they attach in down to the pelvis. So if they get really tight as well, they're going to have that tipping forward, or they're going to create that tipping forward of the pelvis and that arching of the back. So to release them and stretch them is going to be hugely, hugely beneficial. So again, underneath this video, I'm going to write out kind of sets and reps of this. But the real trick with this is to make sure your position is spot on, but to breathe, all right? So when you breathe in with it, again, up here, the whole back's against the wall. Big in breath, reaching up as high as you can. Breathing out. Now breathe in. Breathing out. It's a really, really lovely one. So, right, so the next one we're going to do is one called a cat cow, and we'll build that up into, we'll also add rotations into this as well. It's quite a common one. You might have seen this one before, but again, it's how we do it is what's key. The main thing to think about, yes, it is we're going to flex the spine forward. It is a flexion exercise. However, I much prefer just doing it on the ground because it's not so much flexion of the spine, but it's more of a lifting up of the spine instead. So we're not relying on gravity pulling us down, and so it's less aggressive on the muscles, and therefore they won't fight back, which is exactly what we want from these exercises. Right? So you get into your hands and knees position here, shoulders over your hands, hips over your knees. You want to do 2 straight lines. Now, from here, I want a big deep breath. And as you breathe out, I want you to tuck the hips under. And just inhale as you come back to neutral. Okay, so again, nice big in breath. Back to neutral again. So it's all about the out breath and the lifting and the rounding of that spine. What I also want you to do is really try and tuck that pelvis under as much as you can. So we're going to open up that lower back. We're going to decompress the spine. So again, if you look down here, really tuck my pelvis under as much as I can. And I just bring it back to neutral. I don't go any further into extension here. Again, extension for me personally is really harsh on my spine because I've broken my back and because I slipped my discs. It's very easy for my vertebrae to touch, and it's very, very painful and very uncomfortable. So I go no lower than this. I don't recommend you go any lower than this. And again, breathe in. Breathing out. And just come back to that position. Again, if you feel going too high is too painful, then stay within that range, okay? That's all of these are done with the caveat of stretching, not hurting, okay? So again, use your discretion with these. Now, in that same position, that cat-cow position, we like to add, or love this one actually. I love rotation work. We're going to add a rotation. So breathe in, breathe out, breathe back in. Now take your right hand and then breathe out. Come back to the center, breathe in, breathe in. Breathe out. And again, we can repeat that then again. So lower flexion, back to neutral, left rotation, right rotation. So what we're doing here, and admittedly this is more of a thoracic mobility drill. However, again, remember our spine is all one complex, so everything works together. Moving in a rotational manner, especially to the thoracic, we tend to get very bunged up through there. So giving that little bit of mobility and freedom through there will have a really, really nice impact on the lower back. So again, I'm going to put the sets and reps and how much you should do underneath here, but I just want to quickly run through these exercises for you. Again, that's one of my personal favorites, and I absolutely love it. It gives me, well, a huge amount of relief. Again, particularly, well, it gives me, in general, I'm pain free. It gives me relief post workout, especially if I've been doing heavy lifting. But it's a staple of mine. I like to have it in there. I keep it there every day, and it just keeps me injury free, pain free, which is exactly what we're aiming to do here. So, sticking with that rotational theme. So this and that one, you can see the pelvis stayed still, but my upper back rotated. Now we're going to flip that around by lying onto our back. So we're going to keep the upper back still, and now this time rotate the pelvis. So start with your left leg straight, and then cross your right leg over your left, and have your hands out. And now if you're very stiff, you can use your left hand. Left hand grabs that leg, keep the upper back on the mat, and just pull that leg across the body. So we want the lower back and the lower spine to rotate this time. Now this is quite a deep stretch, so ease into it. And again, you can just come back. I like to do one side first and then the other. I don't like to alternate because I find it more beneficial to stay on one side as we start getting deeper and deeper and deeper into that stretch. There we go. Again, you might feel this on the outside of the hip and the glutes. That's fine. If you're tight there, you obviously need it. That's it. Again, coming back. Right over. And again, with these ones, obviously we'll do both sides. There's no golden rule in terms of right and wrong, in terms of how many or how long. It's every body is different. Every condition, every ache or pain can be slightly different or cause some slightly different issues. So in that respect, listen to your body with that one, or with all of these, I should say. I don't know what your body is. I don't know what you're feeling. Even if I was there in person, I can't truly understand what that is. So you do have to be a bit of a detective in that respect, but once you have it, you'll be fine. You know what works, you know what doesn't work, and we go from there, improving and improving and improving. So we're going to do the opposite side. Again, right leg straight, left leg over right. And with these ones, when you go from left to right side with exercises or stretches, you might find them feeling different. That's totally normal. So for me on this one, I feel this higher up. Whereas on the other side, I felt that more into my hip and my glute. But that's just again, because I'm tighter in my right glute and I'm tighter on the left hand side of my back here. So it's all about bringing that balance back to the body. Yeah. Now, speaking of the glutes and hips, so those ones we just done there, again, they're great, but they're more spinal focused. The ones we're going to do now are more pelvic focused. And if you remember from the very first video, I was saying the hip flexors, these muscles here in front, and the glutes are the ones on the back. They get all messed up when the pelvis gets tipped forward. The hip flexors get really tight and the glutes on the back get really long and weak. So we're going to do a little bit of release work on the front of the hips, or hip flexors, because when we do the strengthening exercise in the next video and on tomorrow, that will balance out, because when something's tight, it means the opposite muscle is weak. So when something's really strong, the opposite is weak, so we have to bring that balance back. So that's what we're going to do. And we're going to finish off one last hip mobility routine, or drill, I should say. And this is going to be called our hip circles. So I'll face the camera. So staying down on one knee. I'll put my hand on my foot here. Now the idea with that is to make sure your foot stays flat, right? You don't want your foot rolling over and back on this one. And now from here, I want to push that knee forward. I want to push it out and around. So I'm going to try and make circles. Again, at the beginning when I started doing this one first, there was so much gristle and clicking and all sorts within the hip. Again, if that's normal, if you feel that. If it's painful, just shorten up the range, right? Just do them small. Again, I've been doing this a while, so my range within my hips are so much better. I know we're going to do the reverse it. Right? So you come back and around. You want as much movement in there as possible. Again, so like I said, underneath I'll write up the sets and reps and things like that. But I usually, again, depends on how I feel. Some days I'm really stiff, other days I'm fine. I might spend a little bit more time doing it. But the sets and reps, like I keep saying, are a guideline, okay? I do generally 10 in one direction, 10 in the other. Again, forward, out and around. Again, you can see how my foot wants to go out. I have to pin myself down with that one, especially on this right side. Old ankle injuries. Alright, and there we have it. So this routine put together should take you no more than 10 minutes. It's absolutely perfect before you warm up, or as a warm up, or a mobility warm up for before your workouts. But even if you're so sore that you can't work out, then this is absolutely ideal. I'd recommend it doing a couple of times a day. Again, I will write that. I'll write more of an outlay in the description. Excuse me. And it is something that has benefited me massively. Keep an eye out for tomorrow's video, and where I'm going to go through more of the strengthening exercises that will bring. So today we touched on the mobility and releasing that tension. Tomorrow I'm going to focus on creating more strength in the weakened muscles, so we again are able to pull that pelvis back into its ideal position and get you fitter, get you stronger, and get you feeling better. Take care. Talk soon. Bye.